Welcome to Marth and the Machines and this installment's battle report. I used the opportunity which had presented itself to field a very simple, even though not very easy list which was mostly painted, to about 85%, which is a first on Marth and the Machines. I once again pitted the Butcher of Karlov against Kreoss, but this time his epic version. That at least gave me peace of mind in knowing that it was not going to end by drop and pop, but properly, in, you could say, a manly manner. And therefore we chose to forfeit scenario and do a basic battle. Epic Kreoss came with a Redeemer, a Reckoner and the Fire of Salvation, with a club upgraded from the Plastic Crusader. He also had a minimum choir, Knight's Exemplar, minimum Exemplar Bastions, 3 racks, a Vassal Mechanic and an Allegiant of the Order of the Fist. And the Butcher brought what I first labeled Cannonball or Jackson 5, but Aridus probably nailed it as being the Full Metal Jacket. The Juggernaut Victor, the Devastated Nikita, the Spriggan Alexander, the Marauder Mikhail and the Kodiak Boris. I won the roll-off and therefore went first and figured that this'll need more practice. What do you do first turn? Full throttle and run up? Then which upkeep goes where? Do you fire up both Fury and Iron Flash? I chose to give a focus to each to Nikita and Alexander because if the Butcher went first he'd have to stay behind due to my bad deployment. So I ran Nikita, Alexander and Boris, who does that for free, and Victor and Mikhail just moved. The Butcher moves into the opening, puts Fury on Alexander and Iron Flash on himself after moving. On his first turn most stuff runs. The Allegiant flanks, the choir sings the battle hymn, and the Redeemer moves onto the hill opening fire at Alexander with 2 shots boosted for damage, putting some in. Believe me, at this point I wished for my battle mechanics to fix it. But then again, I still had 5 heavies he had to deal with. Kreoss puts Inviolable Resolve on the next Exemplar. Okay, round 2, turn 1. The problem I was facing was the same as last time. The normal Butcher does not make his jacks go faster, so I wouldn't be closing the gap. At the very least, I wouldn't be getting the Alpha Strike. So I chose to take it on the chin. Nikita and Alexander move up, Alexander firing his grenades at the Knight's Exemplar to no effect. The Butcher moves, casts Full Throttle, and Victor, Mikhail and Boris run up. Kreoss starts by upkeeping Inviolable Resolve on the Knight's Exemplar and chucking out focus to the Redeemer and Reckoner. He then activates, measures his control zone to gauge distances, and feeds. The Redeemer and Reckoner combine their fire against the Spriggan, which sadly takes out the left arm and with the shield first. Then the Knight's Exemplar charge in. They take their bites out of Boris, destroying the cortex, but that was no problem. They slice and dice Alexander, but the remaining attacks bounce harmlessly off Nikita's shell. The Allegiant moves and uses Sifting Stance. Okay, round 3, time to rock out. I just need a plan. I drop Iron Flash while working out who will go when, and that's where I screw up, because I forgot to feed. That would really have changed stuff. But so it just went like this. Boris shuffles around, Van Steam kills an Exemplar. Nikita shuffles and bulldozes, then unleashes Rain of Death, killing another 2. The Butcher charges and hacks down 2 more, then casts Full Throttle and recasts Iron Flash on himself. Victor charges into the Bastions, heavily wailing on them. Nikita charges the last Exemplar remaining and combo slams him. Not that much going on his turn then. Kreoss fuels the Redeemer, Reckoner and Fire of Salvation with focus. The choir sings the battle hymn, the Reckoner and Redeemer combine their fire on Nikita, who's wide open. The Bastions surround Victor, poking him. The Vassal enlivens the Fire of Salvation, which then charges Nikita and, with a good roll, finishes him with a single strike. The Allegiant charges the Butcher but bounces off the Iron Flash. Round 4. Okay, I think this is where a number of things done differently could have helped a lot more, at least it would have come to different results. I will be discussing those on the blog. I chose to go this way. The Butcher upkeeps Iron Flash, casts Full Throttle, feeds and moves to strike the Fire of Salvation. Hard! Who then moves off, just so that Mikhail could not get line of sight. To do so, I choose to eat the free strike from the Allegiant, which actually hurt. So I run Mikhail to engage the fire, but agreed my positioning was subpar. Victor kills 2 Bastions but can't get the one in his back arc. Boris charges the Allegiant, taking him out. Okay, note, the Reckoner is not where he's at. He's actually ghosted by the wooden ship next to the wooden ship which is next to where Mikhail was. Kreoss loads the Reckoner, Fire and Redeemer with Focus. The Redeemer moves and clubs Mikhail, not taking him out. He's functional enough that he doesn't want to risk the free strike, so chooses to fire into melee with the Redeemer, downing Mikhail finally. The Vassal mechanic moves up, fixes 2 points of damage on the Fire. The Fire then charges, activates his imprint, and downs the Butcher with the second swing of his club. Kreoss wins! In hindsight, memo to myself. Figure feet turns correctly, and on the feet turn the Butcher goes first. I wouldn't exactly say that I was banking on my luck to save the Butcher. There were many dice rolls involved, and actually if just one had gone wrong, he might have lived. Only barely so, but he still might have lived. I then would have dedicated Boris and the Butcher to deal with the Fire and Mikhail to take care of the Reckoner. Nothing that could not have been solved by full throttle plus focus, I think, but it didn't get there, so... Playing this Full Metal Jacket, essentially 35 points of mangled metal, was incredibly fun, though I did miss my baseline support. The mechanics would have kept the Spriggan going easily, and they could have fixed the Kodiak too. Should I get my second Juggernaut painted, I might exchange the Spriggan for him, leaving me with 3 unspent points. I, however, like the Spriggan for his reach. The Reckoner and the Fire of Salvation, though, proved to be a good deterrent to just running the jacks up into his face. I will definitely play this list more and see how other people deal with that much heavy metal. But until then, farewell.